La, 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 la. All right, I'm excited.
We're live. We're live right now.
Yay! I got my beer score. I'm ready to bring it. Pre-game.
Let's see if I can get my beer score.
Okay.
I gotta say this brewery, I'm not terribly impressed with.
No.
Although this one has a pretty good score, I guess. We'll see.
The beer I have today, I'll give you a hint, since we're about a minute away from the big reveal. Anyway, was a brewery I visited last week. Yay.
Oh, fancy. That's cool. Where was that?
And I did a major testing of like all the stuff they had on draft. I think we tasted about 8 beers.
Yeah.
The one that was always my favorite ended up being my favorite still. Like, it's just terrific. So anyway, do you want to know what it is? Are we live? Is it noon?
It is noon. Let me do the, here, let me,
We need some theme music.
I do want to make a theme. And you can have a trailer play automatically on these things. And I want to do that. Okay. Okay, let's get into character. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's SEO and IPA. It's the fun weekly hangout about inbound marketing, entrepreneurship, and more for cool people of all shapes, stripes, and colors. As always, I am Daniel Barrett from Two Friendly Nerds. That's TWO friendlynerds.com, the world's friendliest web design company. And with me, as always, is the brains behind the operation. Officially, the only reason anybody ever watches this show. She feeds hummingbirds to pandas. It's Patty DeLessio from Reinvent Interactive. That is reinventinteractive.com. Patty, how are you, my wonderful friend?
Very nice intro, my friend. I like it.
I like it? Yeah. I wrote like a whole bunch of new ones. So I've got like a whole list for me to go through. We'll see how many SEO jokes and puns I can make before I completely run out of content. Yeah, Patty, how are you? You doing good?
I'm terrific. I'm terrific. I'm
talking. Oh, sorry, I cut you off. I just asked you a question and I cut you off. My wife hates when I do that, so
It's okay.
Let's go back in time. Patty, how are you?
I'm terrific. I'm refreshed. I was away last week. I was doing some masterminding with a really terrific group, and I'm back, and it's great. It's great. How are you? Shut up.
I didn't want to cut you off, so.
I know, I see that. And end point.
Okay. Good. I'm good. Over.
Over.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. Feeling a little punchy this morning, but otherwise good. It's Wednesday, middle of the week. You know, I had to take my car in to get an oil change and stuff this morning, so my schedule was a little off, but pretty good. You were just saying that the beer you got today, you actually went on a trip to the brewery. So now that we're not in the pregame, we're in the main event. Why don't you tell us, what was the brewery that you went to go check out?
Yes. Well, it's a brewery I've been to before. It's in the same town that Eric's sister, my sister-in-law, lives in, and it's in Escondido, California, and it is Stone.
Hey, so you went to Stone. That's cool.
Went to Stone. Stone is excellent. If you ever get out there, I totally recommend it. There's a beautiful garden, fantastic restaurant, tons of beer. So this is the Ruination IPA, and it's it's their IPA. It's got a lot of, I think it's got high alcohol. Yeah, it's an 8.2, so that's high for an IPA. But it's just beautiful. It's a terrific beer, and we lined up. I was telling you before, like I think we tried 8 of the different draft beers, like in the tasters, and I still walk away that this is just one of my more favorite IPAs.
The Ruination.
Ruination, and they have it everywhere out there, which is just amazing. They have a brewery or a store restaurant in the airport in San Diego, so we went there on our way out. Everywhere I go, I can always find really great West Coast IPA beers, and Stone is just a terrific version of that. So anyway, it's great. It's great. Cheers.
It's great. It's great.
It's great. It's got a lot of flavor.
What was the, you said you had the score.
Oh, yes. So I looked it up on Beer Advocate, and it is a 96. It is in the world-class rating.
Wow.
And the brothers, I guess, gave it a 97. So it's an even higher rated one. And that's with the 96 rating is out of 9,648 ratings. You know, so it's that high with that amount of score. So anyway, it's a really terrific beer. Have you had it?
I want to say yes. I don't really remember, but I'm pretty sure I have.
Yeah, there's Ruination, Levitation. I'm trying to think of the other ones, but they're all just really huge hop.
Humiliation.
What?
Humiliation.
Oh, humiliation. No, that's something that happens later after a lot of these. So tell me, what beer do you have? And by the way, I haven't even got into the pumpkin beers this year. I got a sample 6-pack at the store the other week, and I ended up drinking them before we, you know.
Yeah, I've had a couple. I've had like one or two kind of ones, but yeah, I've been taking it kind of easy. So I should get back into it. Actually, when I've been drinking lately, I've been drinking kind of like a spiced old-fashioned. So kind of like a syrup with like cinnamon and nutmeg and stuff in it, with just some whiskey. Love that. But yeah, I want to kind of switch back to beer a little bit. So because it is my favorite season for beer, so you gotta get out there and pick up some stuff. So this actually was just it's the last one I had stocked away in our fridge for the show, and it is the Goose Island Endless IPA, which is a session IPA, 5.0 rating, 5.0 alcohol by volume. So I like it. We were kind of talking about session beers. I like the idea of a session beer as like a beer you can drink a fair amount of, or just kind of have at a party or whatever. I gotta say though, I kind of got a bunch of Goose Island stuff at once because I was interested in trying out some of their stuff, and I've not been really that into anything that I got.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's bad.
Yeah.
But nothing's particularly great. And it's funny because I have a couple friends around here that love Goose Island. They were really excited when Goose Island came to Connecticut and blah blah blah. Yeah. But I'm a little underwhelmed, and I want to be whelmed, but I haven't been whelmed. You know.
I do know what you mean.
Yeah. Right. So let's try Endless IPA. Let's see.
Have you had this before? Is this your first time?
First time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, would I drink this at a party? Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, like if you had this in a 6-pack and we're watching baseball or something, and it's like, you know, whatever, some kind of Miller or whatever, some kind of Blue Moon or whatever. And this, I would 100% drink this.
Okay.
It's got it's nice and bright. It's fairly hoppy for like one of this style IPA, but there's kind of like an aftertaste I don't love. And it's just kind of bitter on the tongue for longer than I would kind of like.
Interesting. See, now I find the session beers a little weak in the flavor department. You know, like they're so low alcohol that you can't.
Well, that's kind of by design. Right?
Well, I know. It's just you know, when you're limited on the alcohol, you're also limited on the grains and anything that provides the sugar, because that's what keeps the alcohol low. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's
to find a good one is.
It's a good like summer barbecue kind of thing, but to be honest, I mean, if I was out in that kind of situation, I'd probably much rather be drinking like Victory Summer or Brooklyn Summer, or, you know, there's a lot of competition in that market now. So, you know, Goose Island, I'm not in love with it, but it's worth, you know, it's worth picking up. If someone's got it at a party, I would drink it. So, that's my ringing endorsement. So this week's episode is brought to you by Goose Island Brewery. Goose Island. When are we going to get sponsors? Hey, by the way, if anyone watching this show wants to sponsor us.
It has to be a beer that we like, I suspect.
Or a beer we can lie about.
We can be bought.
So let's transition to this week's kind of marketing topics, which we are both interested in.
Yes.
This is one of those things where we're covering it because we're selfishly interested in it. But I think a lot of people that are watching this show would really kind of resonate with the stuff covered in these series of articles. So what we're talking about today is productizing a service business. And just a little background. So productizing means, like if you have a product, right, and I'm selling a widget, you come to me, I give you the widget, you leave. I'm not providing a whole lot of service. And I think a lot of service providers really get into this feeling of like, oh, if only I had products because it would be, kind of automated and I'd have all this passive income and, you're not trading time for money, which is the classic kind of service trap to fall into, right? And Patty, you and I have both struggled with this in our own ways.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that people are into. So this series of articles, and so you can see the link, if you guys are watching on Google Plus right now, the link will be over on your right-hand side. By the way, before we go on, just so I remember to say this, we have the Q&A app open on Google Plus. So if you post a comment on this Google Plus page, we'll be able to see your question live and answer it on the air. So feel free to do that. So the article today is a really great series of articles, actually, about productizing. And I was going to pull it up, and I, of course, close the window. But it's great.
Share it? I've got it.
Oh, you got it? You
Yeah.
want to put it up on your screen there?
Sure.
So really great series of articles from this startup called the Process People, right? And or the Procedure People, I'm sorry. And this is actually one part of an 8-part series that's ongoing. Yeah, Ian, I think that's how you pronounce it. Ian Dooley. I was telling you, Patty, actually wrote a really fantastic guide to getting started with AdWords, which I highly recommend. So he's in the process of doing this series, which has been quite good so far. But I kind of wanted to just talk about this idea in general because I think it's something a lot of people could benefit from, a lot of people could really get into, and I think it's something that a lot of people want to do. So, Patty, I thought we would start by talking about kind of what some of your takeaways were from the article, and we could kind of talk about our own sort of attempts to do this and struggles to do this and kind of how this might apply to our business and the businesses of people that we know and work with and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love this, and this kind of came out of a conversation that we were having. Was it yesterday, the day before, where we're planning for this talk, right? And you're like, oh, I got this article on, we were sharing some things that were interesting to us, and I immediately grabbed onto this, and this was your idea, and you're familiar with this blogger in particular, so it was a really good fit. But this is an area that I really struggle with. I come from a background of consulting, so it's not. It's just challenging for me. I come from I have capabilities, I sell those capabilities in a consulting sort of manner, I do exchange time for money, so that's sort of a natural place for me to work from, to offer my capabilities and my understandings. But, so one of the first points that they make in this article is how to not sell capabilities, but to, kind of create these products. So for us, or for me as an SEO and doing inbound marketing, that would mean, taking some of these capabilities, bundling them together, perhaps maybe branding it under a particular name or an offering, and then selling that for kind of some kind of a flat fee, right? So it's really changing the model, and it's almost you're selling outcomes versus capabilities. Maybe would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think, yeah, absolutely. And again, just to be clear to people that are watching, I haven't read the article yet, we're not necessarily talking about saying like, I do SEO, so I'm going to make SEO software that people buy, right? What he's talking about is taking your service, which is typically something where you're thinking in terms of hours worked, or, I'm going to work with you on a 3-month project or whatever, and just say, okay, I'm going to kind of say like, all right, I do, a content audit and an on-site SEO audit, and I do, some work on the site. I'm going to bundle those services together. Yeah, just like you said, under a specific name, charge a flat fee, make the systems that I use to do these things very concrete. So really make a procedure or a process that's very clear from front to back so that you can bring in people to do it.
Right.
So it's about kind of, I think we all have, I know I do this more than anything. When I do a service, I get this feeling of like, I have to do it. I'm the only one that can do it. I'm the only one that knows what to do. But, you know, it's not rocket science, right? The problem is that I haven't made my approach systematic. And if you can make your approach systematic, so that we do these things, you know, we make these decisions, then it's a lot easier to bring other people in and get out of this sense that like you have to be the one that's doing everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that point, one of my big takeaways, and something that I'm going to do probably as soon as we get off this call, is I believe it really starts out with writing down and getting a process for everything you do, right? Everything that you do that's repeatable, that you don't need to reinvent each time, that you're delivering to multiple clients. It's the same thing. Get it out of your head, get it onto paper, and then you're not the only one that can do those tasks, right? It turns this me being the only one that can deliver the capabilities into a sort of checklist of actions, and I need to do that. I need to kind of capture that, and I need to then I would be able to, like they say in the article, is outsource it. So once you isolate the work, you can then outsource those tasks, and then also become streamline that and become very efficient at that and make it, have it take less time. You don't need to kind of rethink it each step of the way. And then you've got, you have a streamlined product that you deliver over and over again, and you can outsource aspects of that.
Yeah, and I think
great.
It gets to this thing where, clients never really care about what you do. I was actually reading a book about sales, and it talks specifically about this. It talks about you go to, let's say, a web designer or an SEO person's website, and they always have like a thing where it's like, what we do.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's like, no one cares about what you do. They don't care what you do. They care about what you do for them.
Right.
Right? So it's like okay, you want more traffic? Do our more traffic plan. It's like they don't care that it's like we're going to do a content audit and a blah, blah, blah. But as a service provider, and you spend all this time and effort like acquiring these skills,
sure,
stuff you want to talk about, right? And so more and more, I've been trying to get away from this in my own. I tend to be primarily technical, so I say like, if I get on a phone with a client, I'll say like, we're going to build you a WordPress website where you can manage it yourself and blah, blah, blah. I mean, all they really care about is like, look, we're going to give you this thing. It's going to make you look amazing, and it's going to help you get more clients.
Yep.
They're like, okay, you know what I mean? It's like getting away from that thing, and making it more of, it comes in a box, right? It's a service, but it's boxed up quite nicely. So, something too that actually didn't come from this article, but came from the book, and actually they interact very well. We're talking about sales and saying that if you're having a different sales conversation every time, it means you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
The whole point was like, you don't know who you're talking to and you don't know what they want. So it's like if you can't hire someone and teach them how to do your exact sales conversation and do it like the same way every time, it means you have no idea like what your sales process is.
Wow.
And to me, that was very kind of eye-opening, and I'm like, wow, every sales conversation I do is completely different, right?
Yeah, and
yeah.
I do the same thing. I reinvent a statement of work with every new engagement, and in my own kind of defense, I look at where my client is, and and they're always in a different place, right? Whether depending on what the work is that needs to get done, where they're engaging either within social media, or whether they're growing an email list, or whether their site needs to be either redone or revisited, or they haven't gotten into pay-per-click advertising and want to, or they're not showing an organic and need to. I mean, I think that there's probably a way to, modular. Take bits and pieces and blocks and kind of say, okay, this is kind of the package that you need based on aspects that exist. But
Well, and I think that they would probably say, right, that that's if you being able to do it the same every time. That's if you want to productize it, right? Because what it means is like if everybody's in a different spot, it means you're not really targeting the people you want to sell to.
Maybe.
That's fine. Like if you're just taking whoever comes in, and that's fine, right?
Right.
But if you want to do outreach, you really need to say like, all right,
right.
My target client is they're showing up. You know, they know they want to do email, but they don't have anything going.
Yeah.
Might show up in organic. They're showing up in organic like really well.
Mm-hmm.
Not capturing those people. That's one type of sale. Right?
Sure.
So it's like, in that case, you should be able to have the same sales conversation because part of the way that you qualify people is like, do they need what this one thing we're selling?
Yeah.
And that's kind of it's both the limitation and the strength of trying to take this kind of like productized approach.
Mm-hmm.
Like your product might be like email boost or whatever, where it's like it's all your email stuff, right? And a certain person's really going to be in the market for that, right? It forces you to narrow your sales targets, which is the thing that I've always resisted doing, and the thing that I've really come to believe that is exactly what I need to do if I want to grow past the point that I've grown to in the business. Like, Two Friendly Nerds is like pretty successful, but I'm not rich.
Right.
So it's really like, okay, if I need to get to, right now, like our sales goal is like, 4 clients a month.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like if I want to get that to like 50 clients a month,
right?
I need to think about it in a completely different way. So again, it kind of depends on what you want to do. But I think it's like that's part of the reason probably that you've had so much trouble, or like you said, like you had trouble kind of figuring out what the system is because you're doing a different thing every time. So there is no system.
Absolutely. I feel as if I'm consulting, but I have an idea. Do you want to go through the article? I can bring it back up again, and we can talk through the 5 characteristics that distill products from capabilities. It's just a section of the article that I think is terrific.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Patty, I would like to do that. Patty.
All right, it's coming up. So here is how to distill a product from a capability.
All right.
And all right. So number 1, a good product has a few characteristics. The first one is a well-defined target market. That goes right to the point that you just made to me, right?
Yeah.
You go after the same people, and you and I can talk about target markets till we're blue in the face. We're being consulted, and we read some of the same books, and the Michael Port book Yourself Solid is all about defining a really solid target market. And you have a great target market. Do you want to say what yours is? Awesome small businesses. Is that what it is?
Small businesses.
Yep.
The ultimate non-target market.
Yeah, it's all right. It's cute. You could probably get a little bit more specific, but that's fantastic. All right, and then number 2 is a simple way to access that market. And again, this goes to some philosophies that I know you and I believe in. So that's where you know where that target market is, you know where they hang out, you know how to become known in that target market. So you know where to show up. So number 3 is a simple way to explain how the product satisfies a need of that market. So that's again the point that you were just making about not redefining that sales conversation each time you have it, right? So you know the heck out of the product, you know why they need it, you know what their wants and needs and desires are, right?
Yep.
Simple and predictable pricing. So again, we were kind of mocking those. The article I think shows, one way to do this. We've got this pricing, but they're saying that this is not simple. This is way too complicated, right?
Yeah.
If you need too much information and too much knowledge in this area to understand what some of these offerings are, it's far too complicated, right?
Yeah.
So that's an example of what not to do. And then a scalable production process, and that's where I could gain some insight from, And I look to you for some of that. You're doing a really great job at that. You're beginning to do a great job at that, where you're outsourcing, isolated pieces of your process.
Right. But it's funny because looking over this, really the only thing I've successfully done that with is web design, right?
Okay.
And the thing with web design is that web design, I think, lends itself to that very well, right? But even more so would be like, okay, if we're doing web design for mid-level personal injury lawyers with eye towards SEO, so their thing isn't ranking and they don't know why, so what we're going to do is approach them with like a website SEO package.
Yeah.
That's something where, okay, I can clearly define that target market, right? It's personal injury lawyers with
ambulance chasers. Cue the ambulance.
So annoying. Anyway, so it's like, okay, they've got to have 10 to 25 employees. They've got to be located within the Northeast. They've got to be a personal injury lawyer. They've got to have made at least $1 million last year, which is not a lot for personal injury lawyers. So they're probably making like $5 million a year. That's my target market.
Yeah.
Then you could say like, okay, on top of that, they have to have the need, right? So that's who they are. What do they need? Well, their problem is they're doing all their stuff in referrals. They want to get Google traffic, but they don't know how to do it. Maybe they're spending money on AdWords, but they're not ranking organically. That's the target. Okay. So the conversation is going to be the same every time. Hey, I noticed that you are spending a lot of money on AdWords, but you're not ranking organically. You know that if you could rank organically, you wouldn't have to spend so much on ads. Right. I'm going to mute this again because here they come again.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying, though, right? So
I think the point that I was making, though, is that, like we said in the beginning, like awesome small businesses, it's actually an awful target market. It's awful. I put it there because the website is just like kind of people want to know about me, and it's more about personality, right?
Yeah.
But if I was going to do outreach, I don't have an easy way to reach awesome small businesses, right?
Yeah.
They're going to, it's just like you were saying, they need something different every time.
Mm-hmm.
So, for you it would be like breaking out like your PPC and your SEO into like separate things, and maybe email consulting into separate things, and saying like, okay, maybe your targets for pay-per-click are all doctor's offices within Pennsylvania that have at least 10 employees, and then you kind of go out and do that. It's interesting because, I was just saying, like, I think I do a much worse job of it than you think that I do, which is nice that you think that.
Well, yeah, you need narcissistic businesses that think they're awesome.
You're right, I am awesome.
Good to
I deserve this more.
Right, you do.
Yeah.
You make them more awesome. No, I think it's great. I hear what you're saying, and we've talked about a venture that I'm looking to tap into, and that's those the PR market, right? Teaching, helping, almost coaching sort of public relations professionals in the art of SEO and ROI tracking and tracking efforts and that kind of thing. So that would be a great way for me to create products for a target market, right? I know where they go, I know where they gather, they attend conferences, that kind of stuff. So that's a place where I can take this concept and run real distinctly.
Yeah.
It
might be interesting. I can show you.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in seeing the procedure list for like a web design project that we use?
Sure.
Okay. So like whenever we start a new project, we start it in Basecamp, which is this thing.
Mm-hmm.
It fills all this in automatically.
Yeah.
So, for example, there's a client to-do list with every piece of it that they're supposed to fill out as the project goes. There's a general process checklist to see like where we are quickly. But then this stuff is for whoever is setting up the project. So, for example, assign freelancers to the project, add the client info to Basecamp, post a welcome message, create this Zapier recipe, blah, 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 pack client in Infusionsoft. So all these things are design, like, read over new client survey, submit 2 to 3 rough designs, incorporate client feedback. So all this stuff is procedurized, right? Mm-hmm. So that anyone theoretically can be dropped in here and at least have some sort of idea of what's going on, and then also theoretically every project goes down the same pathway.
Yeah.
So that's like something that I work super hard on building so I could actually drop people into it. But for the rest of my services, I really haven't done that because the rest of much like you, my services for a lot of people are fairly ill-defined.
Yeah.
So I think that's something I have to work on, because if I look at now the stuff that takes up the vast majority of my time, it's these like little weird jobs that don't fit into the project, right? So it's yeah.
And I think that there's probably two schools of thought. I would assume that clients or potential clients coming to your site, looking at what you provide, looking at a package that has a price, that has a name, that has a set of either deliverables or outcomes that are clearly communicated with a price is great, right? Could sell itself, could it is really good. I think there may or may not, there's probably a benefit, or those particular clients that are like, I'm not sure what I need you to consult with me, I need a crafted solution to my unique situation that fits my needs, and more of this and less of that. Yeah, so what would you say to that? Would it depend on the personality or the tolerance of the particular client? Are there those that are, that want it tied up in a bow, and those that want, no, I want you to do these tasks for me and work for me hourly and provide this service?
Well, it just depends on what you want to do.
It's not as easy for me.
You can absolutely productize an hourly service.
Yeah.
You put together a maintenance plan if you want to add it to your, for example, in my case, right? If you want to put together a maintenance plan beyond what's in the project, it's $500 a month,
yeah.
5 hours of time, and you assign a person to that thing and say, these are the kind of procedures I want you to follow, and it's all pretty straightforward. You could absolutely do it where you're like, okay, you're going to have me, and I do that. I build in consulting hours to every project where it's kind of just what interesting kind of things do you need or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it depends on what kind of business you want to run too. Because if you want to be very involved, that's one thing, and if you don't want to be involved, that's another, right?
It comes down. It's the difference between scaling your business and not.
Yeah. So, for example, if you just said, okay, I'm going to productize my SEO services. Put those all together, and you say, like, if you want like one-on-one consulting on top of that, it's just extra. So you charge more for your time, right? Don't do it, but you're just also charging for it on top of that. And I think that's I think a lot of people will pay for that, right? They'll pay for access to you, especially to you, people.
Yeah.
But we're running out of time, so I'm going to kind of wrap this up. But so this article is actually part of an 8-part series that he's doing right now. I highly suggest you go to his blog, sign up for his mailing list so you get the emails. It's really, he doesn't send out a lot, but they're pretty high-quality stuff. And so check them out. theprocedurepeople.com. His name's Ian Dooley. He's a great dude.
Cool. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thank you guys. So, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. If you came in halfway through or you want to check out any of our past episodes, you can just go to twofriendlynerds.com/hangout. That's twofriendlynerds.com/hangout. Love to see you there. Or you can go on the YouTubes and type in SEO and IPA, where you'll find all our past episodes. As always, Patty, you are awesome, super smart, super fun to hang out with, and I appreciate it as always. And to everybody out there, optimize responsibly. There's a cap on this. I'm going to take that off. I'm not going to lie.
Optimize responsibly.
Optimize responsibly, everyone. We will see you next week. Same SEO time, same SEO channel, noon Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. And thank you very much. Talk to you.
Friends.